Jeremiah, and I'm going to be talking about the meaning behind Andy Weir's short story, The Egg. So some background, The Egg was written by Andy Weir, he wasn't always a novelist. He used to be a former computer programmer before he was a novelist. He was born on 1972, and he often has a lot of hidden messages in his stories. He's not really a well-known artist to a professional degree. He's not really super extraordinary. He's kind of just a normal novelist, but The Egg is a story that gets a lot of attention. He actually teamed up with an animator and created a YouTube short, which is where he got most of his attention from. So before we can talk about the meaning of Andy Weir's story, The Egg, I'd like to talk about the meaning of life, just so you kind of understand the narrative. So the story follows a man who died in a car crash, and the narrator of the story is kind of a depiction of God. The story is fictional, but it generally follows the reincarnation theory, and the story itself is not supposed to be a theory, and it's not supposed to be realistic. It's just supposed to set a narrative for the meaning behind the story. So the story sets up the narrative to open the mind of the readers to understand the meaning behind it. And as the writer of Whiskey of Words, Todd Schmidt, said, "I've never seen a narrative quite like this one before. Even though you know it's fiction, it still opens up your mind to think." Now that we understand the narrative, we can dive into the true meaning behind The Egg. So, understanding the narrative, the narrator begins to explain that everyone on Earth is just you reincarnated in a different timeline, which is kind of funny to think about. But it kind of makes sense when he begins talking about how every kind action you take towards another person is also a kind action you're taking towards yourself. And hand in hand with every mean action you take towards someone else is really just a mean action you're taking towards yourself. It kind of creates a question of how if you treated others. It puts a little bit of a pause, and it just gets you thinking of how your actions affect others, and it really starts getting you think about how your actions on others is really just a direct reflection of your actions on yourself. The next quote here is from a famous writer named Shanna E. Heidi. She says, "The realization of what the story is about hits you all at once, and then after you begin to think, reflect on how you treat others, and more importantly, how you treat yourself." This goes into the next part of the story, which is taking those actions and growing as a person. So again, how you treat yourself is a direct reflection of how you treat others and vice versa. So it begins to make you realize the consequences of your actions and start learning from them. It begins to taking accountability is enough to grow as a person. You have to take that accountability, learn from it, and then put it into your everyday life. So it begins to help you realize how you're treating yourself and where you are in your life. It also begins to help you improving yourself, and improving of yourself will help you treat others better, and vice versa as well. Treating others better will help you treat yourself better. And it's not really as simple as it sounds. It does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of effort to take all these actions and learn from them and really apply them to your everyday life. Self-accountability doesn't mean anything if you don't take that accountability and use it to better yourself. Realize the consequences of your actions and apply them to your everyday life. Taking that accountability and using it is how you better yourself. Everything's upside down. And that's it. Thanks for listening.
Okay.
Yeah.